Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Star Trek New Worlds. My name is Tony. Thank you for joining us live. If you're here with us live, thank you for supporting this live stream. If you're catching us on the replay, then thank you for taking the time. If you are brand new to Star Trek New Worlds and have no idea what this is a turn-based strategy game that we play online here with you on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch. We play this game using the rule set of Federation Empire as published by the Amarillo Design Bureau, and we show you the wonderful map as provided to us, or rather generated by Vassal. If you are a first-time viewer, then welcome, and let me just give you a quick walk around the screen here. Brand new production, so to speak, in the sense that if you joined us last week, we had a bit of a technical difficulty, and so as a result, I completely rebuilt things, so things might look a little different, but quite similar. So let's do a quick walk around. You can see over there on the left is the chat. Also up there just a little bit is a QR code that you can take your phone and take a snap, or you can follow the link down below to Coffee, where you can offer us a little support if you so choose. A little caffeination makes the world go round, and I will introduce you in a moment to my Coffee Genesis machine. But either way, you can provide us a little stimulation to be able to get us going and or provide support to the wonderful content that we put out here. And you can also be like, and I know this is a Dune reference, I'm going to muck up the pronunciation, the Kwisatz Haderach. Tell me if I got that right. Our newest subscriber joining us here on our journey to 500 subscribers to unlock the community tab here on YouTube. But let me take a moment before we do anything else and talk about the exciting things that we're going to be discussing today. Now, in a moment, we're going to jump into the galactic news and give you the latest updates as they come in from across the galaxy. But as a quick sort of reminder, as to some of the things that we may be discussing today, we're going to discuss how to launch a devastating attack here in F&E. We're also going to ask the question, combat CatNip? What's going on with the Lyrans? Galactic Doomsday clock has ticked 1 minute closer to midnight, and we'll talk about sort of the total state of war in the game. There are so many battles and so many fronts, so we'll get to that in a moment. And of course, the Turn 74 reveal. The question mark in the description was because there were so many battles and there was so much activity this turn. We didn't know if it was going to all be resolved in time for today's show, but I can luckily say it has been. Yo! Ladies and gentlemen, a coffee has been fired. Let me take this moment to introduce to you the Coffee Genesis machine. Before I do, I will let you know that unfortunately, and I have to sadly report this, that there has been a casualty in our household. Yes. Our Cuisinart coffee maker has moved on. Moved on to Sto-vo-kor. It has fought its last battle, brewed its last cup. It unfortunately has moved on to the great beyond, and as a result, I have resorted to my emergency caffeination device. We refer to this as the Coffee Genesis machine. You may recognize it as a coffee press. However, this particular press would only be activated if a coffee was fired, which we just saw. Therefore, I shall press. I'm just going to put this down on the table, otherwise I'll make a muck of it. Boom. Coffee has been poured, or rather pressed. Let's pour it now. Oh, I'm going to make a big mess. That's the one thing about this coffee press. It just drips, drips, drips. That's the only challenge there. Oh, yes, that caffeination goodness. Somebody told me once that hydrant coffee is the best coffee. We shall see, my friends. Oh, I've got coffee all over the floor. Obviously, I'm going to have to come up with a better system here. We shall carry on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the coffee fired. Oh, that's hot. I will say that coffee scooted up there really fast. I will have to adjust that speed in the future. Based on the redesign of the production, there are some little bugs. Obviously, that's one of them that we'll have to figure out. But moving on. Ooh, I see there's yes. So we have the galactic news coming up in a moment. But before I do, let me jump into the chitter chat and quickly recognize who's going on. Eugene, first in the chat as always, or maybe almost always. Our local public affairs officer has summarized the week in a very interesting way. The week's wait comes to an end. It seems that war has come to the war game. Is anyone still at peace? Maybe the Gorns, maybe the Romulans, maybe not. Scorecards. Get your scorecards. See who's fighting which empire. The Northern Alliance, the Riemann ISE, versus the Southern Alliance, Hydran and Carnarvon, Lyrans and Feds against the Riemann, but not supporting the Southern Alliance versus the Klingons versus the Carnarvons. Oh my God. Have they joined the Northern Alliance? The Klingons, that is. Will the Romulans and Gorn think of that and the reasons given? How did the Juggies manage to do all this? Wait no longer. On with the show. Ba-boom. Wayne Dan is in the house. Eugene, T-minus 2 minutes. Where is the Tony dance? Tony dance, Tony dance. Okay, there we go. Hopefully I gave you a little shimmy, shimmy, shake. Daniel, oh yeah. Chuck is in the house. Hello. Paul has arrived. Hi, all. Bill, otherwise known as Captain Adam, is here. The rough beast creeps towards Jerusalem Klingon, swarms, amoebas, who knows? Oh, Key Paul Atreides got the Dune. Coffee fired Juggernauts 33% towards the support. Oh, yes, I forgot to mention that. At the bottom of the screen there, you will see a progress bar. That is the goal for today. Last week, we had a goal of 2 coffees. Now, we hit that goal early on in the stream, so I bumped it up to 3. We'll see if we can get there today. 3 coffees is the goal. Can we get there? It's all up to you. All right, Bill, Captain Adam saying again, oh yeah, Orion battle station in Klingon space. Ba-boom, we shall see. Okay, without further ado, let's get on to, boop, 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 boop. There's my mouse. Pull up the script, and it's time for the Galactic News. Piracy on the rise. A new rash of pirate activity has been rocking the galaxy. Pirate mercenaries have conducted assaults in Riemann and Carnarvon space, crippling bases and disrupting traffic. In the midst of all this chaos, there have been reports of pirates utilizing technology far in advance of most major powers. How did they come to possess such wonderful toys? Unnamed sources claim that they might have stolen it from under the nose of the Klingons. With the war just underway, one wonders if they can afford the resources to hunt down the predators. Just going to drop that music ever so slightly. Klingon knife in the kidney. There is destruction all along the Klingon-Carnarvon border as Klingon fleets strike deep into Carnarvon territory. There are indications that the Carnarvons suspected this attack would come, but they were not able to disengage fully from their war in the north to meet this new threat. At the very doorstep of their homeworld, bases were blown and planets were plundered as the sleek silhouettes of Klingon cruisers moved menacingly onwards. Cat scratch fever? Joining in on the frenzied fever of fighting. Love that alliteration. Fleets of the Lyran Empire have roared across the Riemann border, with the bulk of the Riemann fleet heavily engaged against the Hydran-Carnarvon alliance. Riemann defenses have fallen to long-neglected reserve fleets with ships that are decades past their prime. Will the Riemann war machine be able to maintain a war on 2 fronts? We shall have to see. Return to normalcy. For the first time in years, a new Hydran ship joins the Royal Navy. Orbital shipyards are now fully functional and in the process of restoring their capacity to build new ships. Top-level officials in the Hydran government assure us that this new ship is only the first of an endless horde of ships that will pave the way back to Hydrax and beyond. Time will tell whether this is a prophetic, or if this is prophetic or hyperbole. Pest problem? Crawling out of the unexplored zone between Federation and Lyran space, a new contact has appeared on long-range scanners. Again, the Lyran Empire appears to have an infestation of some sort. What is it about Lyran space that seems to attract so many strange entities? Rumors are resurfacing about some kind of monster attractor device that the Lyrans may be able to use against their enemies. Romulan Raiders Redux. For the second time since the mysterious Juggernaut menace first appeared on the scene, it appears they are raiding Romulan space. The Romulan Imperial fleet, busy exploring the frontier, is in no position to repel this intrusion. Will the Juggernauts joyride jubilously through the area, or will Romulans redress their regrets by reacting rapidly? We shall see. All right, everybody. What do you think about the new appearance here and the flashy dashy and all that works? We'll have to see. Back. Here we go. All right, everybody, let's take a quick look at the chitter chatter. I see Bill. Oh, yeah, I have 49 EP, not 48 EP. Obviously, there are some map discrepancies that there are a few gripes about, but let's jump into the map here in a momento. There we go. All right, I will slide into the map. Oh, and just as a celebratory note, thank you very much. We're already in double digits very shortly after our live stream. Let's slide into the map and see what's going on. All right, as we take a quick first look, let's, before anything else happens, start with EP and fleet cap. All right, let's slide that EP over here. Fleet cap, I'll just slide up a little bit so we're in the gray and grow that out ever so slightly. Welcome to turn 40 or 74. The Carnivon are at 43 income. The Federation 47.5. The Gorn are at 48. Although, if according to the chat, 49, we shall see. The Hydrons are at an even 14 EP. The ISC 43.5. The Klingons are at 55, and the Lyrans at 43.5. The Riemanns are at, a monstrous 55.5 EP. Romulans at 48.5, and the Tholians at the number 2 spot for total income at 53.5. Fleet cap, let's slide on in. The Carnivon still maintaining one of the largest fleets in the game at 116 ship equivalents. Few losses in this past turn. We'll cover that in a second. 292 total attack factors with 490 defense. Looking good. Federation is now at 70 ship equivalents. Looks like they're building up. 190 total attack factors, 304 defense. The Gorn following close behind in their Federation footsteps at 68 total ships with 150 attack factor, reaching that major milestone, and 284 defense. The Hydrans still maintaining their fleet of 64 ships with a 155 attack, 260 defense. The ISC, just below the Carnivon with a 101 total ship count with 327 total attack factors, 466 defense. Klingons rising at 88 ship equivalents with a 272 attack. Interesting. 272 attack, 347 defense. Interesting to see. The Lyrans are at 74 ship equivalents, 182. Great number. 182 attack factor, 350 defense. The Riemanns, still the king of the crop when it comes to total fleet count or total ship count at 154 with a monstrous 455. Ladies and gentlemen, another coffee has been fired. We heard the sound. We didn't see the animation. I will have to investigate. Let's take a moment and take a quick sip out of this caffeination goodness. Oh, it's so hot, but so good. Ooh. All right. Where were we here? Riemann, 154 ship equivalent, 455, 592 defense. The Romulans, they're going to be using all of those 59 ships to deal with that Juggernaut infestation that we heard about in the news. 161 attack factors, 261 defense, and the Tholians rounding us out at 79 total ships with 125 attack, 308 defense. Ooh, baby. All right. Well, since we were talking about the fleas, otherwise known as the swarm, and the kitty cat, CatNip, let's start with that. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to switch my head to the other side here. Big goo. There you go. And let's take a look at what's going on the border. Let's start on the left and work our way to the middle since all the action's in the middle. As you can see, not too much going on here. The Federation are continuing their back and forth with the Y-Coms. We have, looks like a very sparse-looking collection of ships, basically nothing there, as everything moves towards the front with the Riemann's. We can see the nasty little swarm, again, coming out of the fog of war here, and not immediately next to anything that they could destroy, but certainly monster counters, can't talk, monster counters on this map don't always necessarily represent or are the thing the counter is. For example, you could have, in this case, the swarm, and it most likely is, we'll see, but you have to send a ship to investigate what it is. And if it is a swarm, then it's probably something akin to self-replicating robots, meaning that as they attack and destroy bases and ships, they will grow. So for example, let's say they are one swarm, we'll call it, one collection of swarmed units. If they destroy a certain amount of defense factors, they'll grow to 2. If those 2 then destroy a certain number of defense factors, they'll grow to 4, and then 8. And you can see where that goes. Now, I believe they start to split into different groups once they reach critical mass. So like one swarm will become 2 different counters. But we'll have to see how that goes. But nonetheless, you can see how a monster like that could become a big problem as we go forward. So we shall have to see what happens here. As you can see by its location, there's no particular base in close proximity, but in a couple turns they could definitely cause some problems. And of course, the homeworld is only 3 hexes away. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Lyrans do in this case. I would recommend sending one of those W airships to investigate just to figure out what it is and then go from there. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the exploration freighters, the 3 small ones in the sort of the bottom corner here. We have a YSR, and I want to say there was another YSR. There it is. Blind as bad as I am. So we've got the concentration of all the Lyran exploration forces, with the exception of that tug that has a survey pod down here in this area. As we scroll up, we can see there's Hidden Dagger, Foremost Fleet. I'll have to check that out. Very interesting. Let me pull away the ships real quick. We can see there's one YDK and then this planet. Those are the 2 closest supply points to the front. Interesting that they didn't reclaim this resource. I'm kind of curious. So we've got a tug with enemy blood. We've got Foremost Fleet here, Hidden Dagger behind, and of course, Home Fleet and White Stripe deep within Riemann space. Very exciting. Let's check out Home and White Stripe Fleet just to start off, since they're the leading point of the spear. Home, ooh, so exciting. So exciting. Okay, Lyran Home Fleet. We'll put that over my head. It might be easier to track. Lyran Home Fleet and White Stripe. Lyran, where are you, my friends? White Stripe. Bam. All right, slide that up there. Okay, so we've got a collection of 4 YCCs between the 2 fleets, a CA, looks like 4 CLs, ooh, 7 DDs, so 13 destroyers, 5 frigates, 3 and 2, right? Yeah, 5 frigates, and a tug. Interesting, and then 2 prime teams, of course. Huh. Very interesting. So not the biggest fleet in the world by any means, but not small. And I guess the question will be, what will they want to do? What's their objective? This YDK with Prometheus and New Fleet will be a hard target regardless. It'll be very interesting to see what happens there. We've got a tug here. I'm assuming that this tug is going to provide extended supply to allow the Reach to, do bad things to the enemy. But they're being guarded by, enemy blood. Enemy blood fleet. Boom. All right. Oh, that's hidden. There we go. So this is enemy blood. This is right on top of where this tug is right here. And as you can see, very small fleet. 2 cruisers, a light cruiser, destroyer, and frigate. Considering what we saw from just the fleet cap count, a very small fleet to be protecting such a valuable thing as a tug in this example. But we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Interesting. Okay, so enemy, nonetheless, protecting that tug. And then we've got foremost fleet here with a Y convoy. I expect that Y convoy will move up and provide supply as well at some point very soon. Between the tug and the convoy, base building is certainly on the menu, I would imagine, in order to be able to provide that supply to be able to reach deep into Hydron space. Let's take a quick look at foremost fleet. Lyran. Foremost fleet. There we go. Oh, yes. Okay. So foremost fleet is the one with the heavy dreadnought. So that's really important because it can command 10 other ships. Total battle line of 11. So heavy dreadnought, YCC. There's the kicker. 4 CAs, a CL, and a DD. Now, I have a feeling the Lyrans, much like the ISC, have the same thing about light cruisers, and I'm just going to experiment here as I flip this unit. Yep. So light cruisers for the Lyrans are a 2-point repair, which means they can be repaired at YBSs. Effectively, the YCL for the Lyrans are arguably their best ship, whereas the YCA, if I were to flip it, by example, it's a 3-point repair, which means you can't repair it at a YBS. YBSs can only repair 2 points of damage. So they both have the same attack, similar defense in the sense of 6 for a full cruiser, 5 for a light cruiser. The difference being that you can repair light cruisers at YBSs in one turn, where you have to take 2 at least to do that for a CA. So I see a distinct advantage in having a lot of CLs versus CAs in this context, especially since the attack factors are the same. It'll be interesting to see how the composition of the Lyran fleet changes as this war continues. Very interesting sort of tweak there about the Lyran fleet. Hadn't noticed it before now because, of course, the Lyrans haven't really gone to war with anybody. So very interesting to see that developing as we go. Very interesting. Okay. And then, so let's position this in sequence. We've got foremost fleet, which is right here. We've got, this is enemy's blood fleet, which is protecting the tug. Then we've got the 2 fleets that are forward up here. And let's pull up Hidden Dagger just for context. I feel like we know what's in there. Hidden Dagger fleet. Boom. There we go. Woo. Okay. So Hidden Dagger is the one in the back end here on its way forward. And what's interesting about that, another heavy dreadnought. CC, CA, CL, 4 DDs, and 3 frigates. So they have a similar challenge the way that the Hydrons do, where the CA is a 3-attack, 6 defense unit, whereas the command cruiser variant is a true 4-attack. So they have to spend extra money to convert a CA into a CC, probably 1 point, I'm going to guess. But it's a more expensive ship to be able to do that, and they have to build CA and then convert it, as opposed to having a CC slipway, which is a technology piece in our tech tree that comes much later. So very interesting to see how that goes as we're moving this forward. Yeah, so interesting to see that. Huh. Interesting. So based on what you see here, wonderful audience, and you see that there is the collection of Lyran ships moving forward, and I'll pull up the Riemann ships for contrast. What do you think they're going to be able to do? Let's pull up Prometheus. We'll put them in the bottom left corner here just so it's easier to sort of differentiate what's going on. We've got Prometheus fleet, which is, I'll put that over here. You can see that's a, well, maybe a little bit, there you go. So that's 2 cruisers, Y-era cruisers. We got 6 destroyers and a total of 7 frigates. And then, of course, there is also new fleet, new Riemann fleet. And you can see here, this is a cruiser. So she's got a total of 3 cruisers, 10 destroyers, and 13, it looks like, frigates combined. And then there's a couple of single units here. So you got 2 W-era cruisers, KD3s, and a W-era frigate, which is the K1. So a total ship count here of 3. 3 and 10 is 13, and then what was that? Another 13, 26, and 3. So we've got 29. Yeah, 29 ships plus the YDK. Now, do you think that 29 ships, even though some of them are W-era ships, and there's quite a collection of destroyers, which are a 3-4 ship, remember, the cruisers, 4-6s, and then, of course, their frigates, keeping in mind that the contrast of the Lyran attack factors, most of their ships at the high end have 3 attack, similar to the Klingon destroyer, with only a few ships having the 4 attack, whether that's a couple, they've got 4 command cruisers in that immediate area, and then the heavy dreadnoughts are coming. Do you think that there is going to be an ability for the Riemans to hold their ground? Keeping in mind, of course, that this particular hex, assuming they don't get pulled off of it and that there's an attack on this base, that they have the YDK there, and that the YDK has EW advantage, and of course itself an 8 attack and 16 defense. They can also do battlefield repairs, which is something that I think we've talked about before. Basically what that means is, so every turn a base has the capacity to repair 8 points of damage. Sorry, a YDK that is. A YDK can repair 8 points of damage. They can, as an advanced rule in Federation Empire, in a battle, perform battlefield repair. So they can repair a certain amount of damage. Now, the problem is, the challenge is, that normal repairs done at a base are at a basically half a point for every point of damage you repair. For example, we just talked about how the YCL for the Lyrans was a 2-point repair, and you can do that at a YBS. So if you did it at a YBS or a YDK, that would cost you 1 EP to repair 2 points of damage. Make sense? So if you're doing it in battlefield repair, it's a 1-to-1, and there's only so much you can do. So 8 points total damage that you can repair, and any repair capacity that you use in battlefield repairs cannot be then used in the following turn for any other kind of repair. So you're using up that capacity. So it's very interesting. It's more expensive, but it could be clutch depending on if you have a key unit that you need sort of in the fight that gets damaged. So very sort of interesting dynamic there. Tony, they need to have EP in their grid. Yes, totally true. In order for, so Chuck has mentioned they need to have EP in their grid. So in order for a YDK, then they need to have, they need to be part of the supply network. So either part of the main supply grid or an isolated supply grid. Sorry, partial supply grid is the terminology. So as long as they're part of the supply grid, they're good, which this base is. It's rather robustly, is there a base there? No, oh yeah, there is a base there. So assuming 4 hex supply, they're rather robustly in supply, this particular base. So they're good to go. So very, very interesting. All right. So what do you think of the Lyrans? Do you think they're in a good position to be able to assault this particular corner of Riemann space? We'll creep around the corner here and take a look at more of the Riemann, as I slide over. We'll take a look at more of the Riemann forces in the area. But generally speaking, Prometheus and Newfleet are it. That's all they got in that neck of the woods. And so are they going to be able to hold the line against this ever-increasing Lyran assault? You tell me in the comments below. All right. Let's talk about the Riemann's in the rest of the map. As you can see, the body of their empire has very few ships in it. We've got a KD-3 over here, a tug, which, excuse me, looks like it's going to be repairing, excuse me, this YBS. Oh, Destiny Fleet. We got an exploration freighter here, another small, so 2 small exploration freighters, an exploration cruiser, and then, of course, a W-era cruiser with a prime team doing its business down there. So really sparsely populated shipwide in the rest of the Riemann fleet. The bulk of it, of course, is down here where all the business is happening. All right, let's take a quick look. So just as a reminder, we've got an R&D team here on the ISC capital. Looks like a planet just sort of maintaining and policing this particular developing planet there. Yep. Another developing planet here with a couple frigates, a tug, and Atlantis fleet. Let's just take a quick look at what's in Atlantis fleet, or is Atlantia, excuse me. So this looks like a full build cycle. You've got a cruiser, 3 frigates, and 3 destroyers. This is a full build cycle coming from the capital, I'm assuming, making its way down here. As we scroll down, we've got Solar, probably Solaris fleet, and Pacific fleet. So let's take a quick look. Solaria, excuse me. Again, another full build in Solaria, and Pacific fleet is Pacifica, excuse me. Pacifica fleet here. You can see cruiser, 9 destroyers, 9 frigates, and then there's a crippled frigate there too. So that's a total of 20 ships. Yeah, 20 ships there in Pacifica sitting on that YDK as the it looks like, if I take away the ships, yeah, it's a fully operational battle station. Or YDK in this case. So very interesting. Oh, I see that the Tholians have a couple what looks like new YPCs on this side. You'll have to remind me, Del, if you're here, are those YPCs you repaired for them to go back through the wormhole, or are they new ships that have come through? I don't know the answer, but I'm very curious to know what kind of interaction the Riemans have or have not had with the Tholians in that regard. Other than that, what do we got? We got a base under construction. No, we have a base completed here on the border in the FTZ here with Hydran space. It is Columbia fleet. Let's take a quick look at Columbia. All right, 4 cruisers. Oh my goodness, this is quite a bit. 12, 15, 17 destroyers. Wow. 7 frigates, and then 2 crippled frigates plus 2 prime teams. Wowzers. So that's what's sitting here with a tug and another 2 frigates. So 6, 7, 9 frigates. Oh man, 17 destroyers and then 4 cruisers. That is a ridiculous amount of ships, generally speaking. Wow, that's going to be interesting. Okay. And then lastly, over here, we've got a YBS. Is that, I want to say that's also, oh, it's going to be completed in 102 fall, which I believe is turn 74. We'll have to just double check that after the fact. For all you players out there, you know, it'll be on the top row of your spreadsheet. We've got the K2, the tug, which is the KT4, another K2. So 3 frigates and the tug, and then Acropolis fleet. What's Acropolis fleet got? Oh, there we go. Acropolis fleet. Okay, so Acropolis looks like just a build cycle. We've got a cruiser, 3 destroyers, and 3 frigates. So just kind of guarding that base. What's interesting, though, let's take a quick look at the supply menu. And we'll look at for the Riemans. And let's assume set supply at 4. So look at that red shadow. Oh, the sweet goodness of coffee. That red shadow is their supply. One thing it is not taking into account is the supply provided by this particular planet. Because if we look at the Hydran capital, because ironically it's listed here, you'll see that there are 2 planets in this hex. So it's a weird quirk of Vassal as a system. It doesn't inherently allow us to sort of overlay. If they built a base there, I think it would fix that problem. But that shadow will also be extended by an extra 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is an extra shadow that goes down here for the Riemans and extends an extra 4 hexes out. So if you can imagine down this way, there's also a red shadow. So what you can see is that the reach of Riemann supply is deep. It overlaps with a number of Hydran resources, and currently right now looks like fleets. So there's a fleet here with a Carnivon YDK or Carnivon YBS. First fleet Hydran, first fleet. Ooh, that's not a small fleet either. 2 dreadnoughts, 5 command cruisers, 2 destroyers, and 6, 9, 10, 11, along with 3 prime teams. So 11 frigates. So that's a good amount of ships. It'll certainly hold the line with regards to Columbia, especially with being on a base. So that'll be good. But nonetheless, you can see the reach that the supply has. Let me get rid of that supply overlay. Riemann. Here we go. All right. So that's very interesting. Okay, let's talk about the ISC and the Northern Alliance. As we mentioned before, with the sort of the back end of the Riemanns, the ISC don't really have much going on back here. You can see very sparse population of ships, a couple of here on the capital. There's a tug over here. I don't know what the tug's doing, but there's a law fleet there. We'll have to investigate the echelons. Let's just pull up the named echelons so we can address those as we go forward here. Can I pull that up? Hold on. Try and get rid of that white on the bottom. There we go. And slide that down. Okay. So what do we got here? We've got, this is Law Fleet, which is right here. Okay. So right here, we've got the command cruiser, 2 CLs, and 5 DDs. So not nothing. They're just kind of, it looks as though this might be a backup fleet, which is guarding this little wormhole in the corner, which, if you recall, goes into Federation space. So with the Lyrans and the Federation being allies against the Riemann ISC alliance, it is not inconceivable, as you might know from the Princess Bride, inconceivable that the Federation might come through there. Interesting. All right. Other than that, we got a couple of little ships here, again, guarding this wormhole that goes into Tholian space. We've got a YDK in the area with a destroyer. But the real meat and potatoes, the real goody two-shoes of it all, is all down here. Ooh, look at it. I'm getting all excited. Okay. Let's start with Judgment Fleet. Where are you, Judgment? Here we are. YCC 4 destroyers and a frigate. So nothing too crazy here, but they are sitting on the out end of the gravity well that goes from Romulan space into ISC territory or former Hydran territory, depending on your perspective. And so they're just sitting there blocking that hole, which is fair because if the Romulans come through, and assuming they don't get crippled, assuming they don't get crippled when they go through, there could be an issue there. So at least that fleet provides a stopgap and effectively pins, in a lot of cases, whatever's going to be coming through that gravity well. At least it doesn't catch them off guard. And of course, the Riemanns are right there with Acropolis fleet, which isn't crazy, but certainly enough to be able to assist in that context. But where's the really big stuff? Ooh, we've got order, justice, truth, enforcement fleet. Okay. So that's enforcement here. Truth and justice. Justice. Truth on the bottom. And the last one is order. Order. Okay. Enforcement with it. Oh, this is sick. Just sick. Dreadnought. Cruiser. 6 YCLs. 7 DDs. And a frigate. Truth fleet. Another DN. A CC. A CA. Another 6 CLs. So that's a total of 12. We have another 5. Again, 12. 12 CLs, 12 DDs, just in those 2 fleets. Then we have Justice fleet, right? Justice. My brain, it works really well, as you can see. So we got 12 and 12. CC, another CC, so 2 CCs now. 2 CAs. Another 4 added on to the 12 gives us 16 CLs. And 17 DDs. And then the last one there is enforcement. We did enforcement, we did truth, we did justice, and then order. Another cruiser. Oh my God. So wait, that was 4 on top of 12. They gave us 16. Plus another 7. 23 light cruisers. 23 light cruisers. 21 destroyers. Oh my God, that is just a sick amount of ships. Like having 20 of those ships in any one fleet would be crazy. Having 2 groups of 20 plus in essentially a single collection of ships that'll go in the Pet Shop Boys parlance, instead of west, go south, that's going to be vicious. And as long as they can provide supply with a tug, which they have in this formation, to provide extended supply, it's going to get real crazy real fast. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. That's going to get sick. Okay. So I know that we've got some crazy, very analytical, some very attention to detail folks in our community. For those of you who are detailed, do a quick calculation on how much a total potential firepower that is to go south and attack the Hydrons. Because in a moment, we're going to discuss the Hydran Carnivon alliance and how the dynamics of that have completely shifted. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, it has just happened. Now, I saw the coffee rise up, and I can see the coffee in the chat. Let me know if you like that. The fact that you can see the coffee in the chat. I changed the settings to allow that, or like to enable that. That's awesome. The Spanish Inquisition. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Thank you very much for the caffeination. The caffeination through coffee. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have hit our goal. It is 3. The trifecta has arrived. But bam! Yeah. Okay. So let's have a quick breather here and chitter chat a little bit, shall we? All right. That's a pretty crazy amount of firepower that's heading down. As a community, what do you think with regards to how this is going? How do you think the combination of the Lyran injection of attention and the assault, the amount of ships both on the Riemann and the ISC side, how that's looking on the assault? One thing we didn't talk about is that there were 2 fleets in the capital hex, or that former Hydran capital hex, that are also positioned there. That's Cerberus and Athena. And I just want to pull those up real quick here. And we can go back to the map here in a moment. And we can show those 2 fleets. They're not as crazy as the IC ones, but it's just another round in the chamber, shall we say, ready to fire upon the Hydrons and the Carnivon. So very, very, very interesting. Woo. Okay. Let's just take a quick look. And you can see above my head there, you've got the top one is Cerberus and the bottom one is Athena, both of which are in this hex right here. And so you can see we've got 6, 7, 8 destroyers. We've got 6 frigates. There's a crippled destroyer there. And then here's the kicker: 4 cruisers, a command cruiser, and their dreadnought. So if you combine all the dreadnoughts and you combine all the ships, we've got a fleet of over 40 ships with combined attack factors of, I'm just doing really quick math in my head here. So let's just say it was 20, just as a quick number. And let's just call it 4 attack factors. So that's 80 attack factors just in the light cruisers, not talking anything else. Another 60 attack factors in the destroyers, and I know it's more. That's 140 attack factors just in those 2 collections of ships. Oh my God. That doesn't include the Riemann faction potentially adding. That doesn't include what would be 2 dreadnoughts on the IC side, another dreadnought on the Riemann side. That doesn't include any of the command cruisers and cruisers or D4s and D4Cs from the Riemanns. That is just going to be a ridiculous amount of firepower that is going to drop into the lap of the Hydran front. Very, very interesting. I am so interested to see what's going on. Okay, let me do a quick note. Quick question for you, the audience. I'm noticing on my end as we do the transitions back and forth, and even right now, it's a little bit stuttery or jittery. It's not as smooth as it has been. If you're seeing that, please let me know in the chat. And what it may mean is that currently we are streaming to Twitch, we are streaming to YouTube, and we are streaming to Facebook. In the future, we may only be able to stream to 1 or 2 After all, the more I stream, the more it loads the computer, and so little transitions like that are nice and smooth when the computer has lots of headroom to be able to do what it needs to do. Of course, you could say, Tony, upgrade your computer, and sure, I'll get there. I'm waiting for the 7000 series Ryzens and all that stuff to come out. We'll see what that looks like. All right, so let's take a second and tussle through the chat and talk about what's going on. There's so much chitter chatter here. Okay, let's go to the top when the first coffee donation, which was from the Juggernauts, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Smith. Oh yeah, Ryan battle stations in Klingon space. We'll have to talk about that. Chuck saying he's at 55.5 EP and falling. I'm assuming you're talking about the Riemanns. As you are attacking the Riemanns. Then we got Wayne Dan. Thank you, Wayne Dan, firing that coffee our way. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. What era is started with? Are these Y, W, and M so far? Yeah. So when we started this game, most factions started off in the W era. I think the Romulans technically start in the S era, which is sublight. So it's a tech period just before W. But basically W era is effectively where everyone starts, and then we kind of progress from there. So it goes W, which is the first, Y, M, and then GW, the 4 stages of technology in this particular game. Big slow target, widespread builds. Gorn, exclamation mark, built the most with net losses 8 and almost 1 Compot build with 21 offensive and 34 firepower. So big slow target, for all of those who are who have never sort of been in the chat, big slow target is our data person, in the sense that he is on top of it. He comes up with these great little tables in our Discord channel to be able to sort of do analysis and analytics on who's building what and everything. So if you are also detail oriented and want to get into the nitty gritty and have that conversation with Big Slow Target about what is going on from a data perspective as we watch the analytics grow or ebb and flow, shall we say, then please feel free or consider joining our Discord channel. You can, of course, hit the QR code or the coffee link there, and you can check out the tiers, one of them which allows you to be able to join us on our Discord and then participate in the witty banter, the data analytics, and of course the story and role play that goes on there with regards to the support of what's going on here. So very, very fun and exciting. I think it's a very fun and exciting community. I leave that up to our community members in the chat here to comment on. All right, Chuck says, Tony, they need to have EP. So we talked about the EP in the grid, 411.31, for all those who are wondering where in the rules it is. A big slow target at Wayne Dan, M ships just coming online now, but it varies by empire. George Duffy is in the house. Hoorah! Hello, all. Blue Loggy Mouse. Welcome, Blue Loggy Mouse. Can anyone tell me what this vassal module is called and where do I find it? Well, Blue Loggy, short answer is you can't find it. We built it. Or more to the point, the previous iteration of the players who played this game built that vassal module. It is a slightly bespoke or like custom-made module. We have since taken the template that we're using here and have created an updated module that we're using for the Into the Void campaign. That is sort of another version above and beyond this, and we have multiple versions of that as we're improving it as we go. Short answer is you can't find it, but if you want to join one of our campaigns, if that's something, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that you'd like to do, then absolutely you can join our campaign and get access to that module and then participate in the fun-loving craziness that this is. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're just here to be able to facilitate fun, have good times. So if you want that module, reach out to me on the Facebook page, as that's probably the easiest and most secure way to connect, and I can send you that if need be. Sound good? All right, Bill Smith. Hey yo to all who just got here. Blue Lucky Mouse. I don't think he knows what the word really means. Which word is that? Is it me? Maybe? I don't know. The Spanish Inquisition, of course, fired their coffee support. Thank you very much to the Spanish Inquisition, because, I mean, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we can We love the fact that the coffee, we can see the coffee donations. That's excellent. Coffination, new word. I think we'll stick with that. Yes, thank you, Bill. Fed, I have F&E 2.0 on Vassal. Ooh, okay. We'll have to check that out. Bill, alas, for those in the know, the Hydrants have lost their seat in the chat. The Universal United Nations had to reclaim their seat for lack of payment dues and penalties due to shenanigans. Okay, Bill, are those still available to download? Oh, yes. So I think Bill's talking about versions of the previous Vassal module, and then the K33 makes reference to the new module we've made. So there's, again, there's a community of players who play with slightly different versions of this module, so it depends on which game you're participating in, on which version of the module you've got, effectively. Yes, get from Jim Hydrants, other from Daniel. Okay, next question, Bill Loggymouse says. Any chance of getting into this campaign, or are there others like it? I'm playing General War Scenarios solo currently. Okay, let's take a moment to address that concern. So, right now, this campaign, New Worlds, is full. We have another campaign up and running called Into the Void, which is also at capacity. But we have interest of starting up a new campaign, most likely in the new year, so in 2023. I don't really have a lot of detail on that because the potential GM is still sort of working out his end on how he wants to run it. And so until that's all sorted out, we don't have a firm date, but generally speaking, there will be a new campaign that will be coming. And generally speaking, if we're facilitating it through this channel and this community, the goal would be to, and I have to have more of a discussion with the GM to explore this particular point. But for example, what we did with Into the Void was, in order to run the new campaign, those who are coffee supporters get first dibs on joining, and then we will create a sign up sheet like we did with Into the Void. We put that out. You can sign up. Once you sign up, then you can. Again, you sign up, there's a sort of a combination of first come, first serve and lottery when it comes to factions that you can select from. Again, coffee supporters get first dibs, and then we'll go from there. In the last campaign, we had more requests than we had slots to fill, and keeping in mind that the time frame of when that sign-up sheet goes out, it was only up for about 36 hours, and then we had to take it down because it was full. And I had a lot of interest afterwards to say, hey, can I get in on this campaign? So yeah, the challenge there is around if you want the latest and greatest and sort of stay up to date on when this thing is going to come out, be like the Kwisatz Haderach down there, hit the subscribe button and make sure you have alerts on so that you can see when the trailer or the sign-up trailer will come out, and you'll see the notification for that, and you'll be able to join the campaign, sign up for it, as the sign-up sheet will be linked in the description, most likely, and then you can go from there. And of course, if you are a coffee supporter, first come, first serve, you get dibs, and away we go. So hopefully that answers your question, Blue Loggy Mouse, and we shall go from there. Now, let's talk about our next faction. In the Warhammer 40k universe, we would call them the Wolves of Fenris. In the Starfleet universe, they are the Carnivon. They are the werewolves of space, as opposed to the kitty cats of the Lyrans. Let's talk about the Carnivon. All right. Carnivon here is in green and yellow, and you can see a couple of interesting things. So as a preface, before turn 73, the majority of Carnivon forces were north of this line, the northern border between the Hydrans, or what used to be Hydrant space, and the Carnivon territory. They were north of that line, and they were defending the Hydran homeworld, and they were engaged in a protracted war against the ISC and the Riemann. As you can see, there has been a substantial shift in their forces, and let me illustrate that for you. Let's go along the border and we'll see what's up and what's down. You can see Fox Skulk 1 is still here, so let's take a look at the Carnivon Fox Skulk 1. And you can see this is a CC, a CA, a drone bombardment cruiser, a drone bombardment destroyer, a total of 4 destroyers, and quite the collection of 9 frigates. That is currently sitting on top of this YBS, Hydron-owned YBS with Home Fleet, Hydron Home Fleet. And that's really the only fleet that's north of this line. If we go along the border, as we're like right here on the Hydron homeworld, you can see that on the Hydron homeworld, there is a Carnarvon YDK, a Hydron YDK, a Hydron YPGB, or Planetary Ground Base, that's supporting the YDK at the planet. And then we've got a couple of crippled Y-Aerodrome bombardment destroyers. We've got a captured Lyran WCA, a tug, and a YBS, but really that's it. Now, I should say Diamond Fleet is technically in the border, so let's call that out. Let's look at Diamond Fleet. Diamond Fleet is not nothing. It is a DN, a CC. Oh, play with me here. There we go. 3 CAs, and I'll just do it now. 7 drone bombardment cruisers, a CL, a DD, and 9, 10, 11 frigates. This little fleet, I say little facetiously, is not nothing. That is a big issue and or problem, depending on who you are. And of course, if you're the Klingons right now, and we'll get to that in a second, that's a big issue for you. So let's take a look. There's Diamond Fleet here, and that is a big bad fleet doing big bad things. Very, very interesting. Where else do they have ships? Well, we've got Home Fleet and Den Fleet, which is now here sitting on a YDK. Let's look at that. Den Fleet, which, of course, if you know anything about the history of the Carnarvon and the Klingons, we got a lot of fond, not so great memories about Den Fleet. And then, of course, Carnarvon Home Fleet. There we go. Den Fleet was the fleet that violated Klingon space and started the last war that we had. But let's take a look at this collection. Between these two fleets, we have 2 DNs. We have a CC. We have a total of 3 CAs, a drone bombardment cruiser, 2 CLs, a destroyer, total of 3 drone bombardment destroyers, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, and 15 frigates. Between those 2 fleets, this is a very significant amount of ships. Those ships are within extended reaction range of the homeworld, and that's on purpose. We'll get to that in a moment. We've also got Coyote Band 1 and Ruby Fleet. Let's pull those up. Carnarvon Coyote Band 1 and Carnarvon Ruby Fleet. So these fleets aren't as big, but if we combine the two, we've got, again, a DN, so 2 DNs, a total of 5 CAs. Now, keeping in mind, the Carnarvon CA, like the Lyran, is a 3 attack, 4 defense ship. And this is sort of like a fundamental characteristic of a lot of Carnarvon ships. They're light on attack, high on defense, if that makes sense. So they've got 3 attack and 6 defense, and there's 5 of them. We've got 2 CLs. Oh, we've got a drone bombardment, 2 drone bombardment cruisers, 2 CLs, and a total of 8 and 7. So, 15 frigates. So that's not nothing. That's a significant force, a significant force of ships that is doing stuff there. So very, very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So again, this is the first time I'm looking at this map too, and because of what happened here, I'm very sort of interested. So without sort of telegraphing anything of what the plans are to come, because to be fair, I don't know yet. I'm just looking at the map the first time. But we can see here that there is a redistribution of ships in a big way towards their home system, their capital. Now, why is that? Why are you doing that? Well, because the Klingons just did something incredibly atrocious and blew out a bunch of bases. Now, I'm going to point out something that happened here, and I'm going to illustrate this to the GM because we're going to have to update this map. So I'm going to Somewhere here I've got Discord. I have to pull up the Discord. Stand by 2 seconds. And I'm going to pull up a quick little graphic that shows you. Can I pull this over? Hold on. Maybe I can download it. I'm trying to figure out a way I can get this. Come on now. There we go. Copy image. All right, we're going to have to do this on the fly. Fun lovin' style. Okay. McLovin style. You like that? Paint. Let's pull up paints real quick. And we're going to paste this image. Okay. Let's resize this so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay. If you can see this, I will move this to, let's minimize that. I will move this so that you can fully see what's going on here. Okay. So if you can do the visual translation here, all these blue hexes up at the top are battle hexes that occurred in Hydrogen Space. And you can kind of see those represented here. So where Northeast Fleet is here, right above it, there was a base that was attacked. Here in Mike 37, there was a base that was attacked. And in Papa 37, there was a base that was attacked. Now, all those bases were destroyed, and these various ships retreated. Now, if these ships retreated, that means they cannot remain in that hex. They have to retreat out of the hex. And depending on the order and the sequence of battle, they can only retreat in certain directions based on the supply and the retreat options. It's basically all based around supply. And fundamentally, I think basically this YFF probably would have had to retreat into the FTZ. This tug would have had to retreat towards this planet, because I think at the time the planet was still under control, but we'll have to see. And then this guy would have to retreat this way based on the supply closest to the supply network. So essentially what happens is those ships, because they retreat out of that battle hex, go into an adjacent hex of some type. Unless there's a whole bunch of series of rules that you can go check out in our combat tutorial about retreating. So effectively, all those ships need to be not in those hexes, but retreated somewhere, assuming that they weren't damaged or crippled in the battle, which it sounds like they were not. But they are great at this moment, a great illustration. Oh, I think I'm about to get a guest. My daughter is coming into... All right, let's switch over. Tori, or V's, I'm in the middle of the live stream. You want to come say hi? Come on. Come on. All right, ladies.
Why do I have to be in your video?
You don't have to be, but you decided to walk into the office while I was live streaming, so...
Don't. Stop.
Mwah. All right, go upstairs.
Oh my god, what is all this blue?
Vivi. And this is live streaming. Vivi, please go upstairs while I'm in the middle of the live streaming, because I can't talk to you while I'm doing the live stream.
Okay, can I sit here?
As long as you're quiet. I know. Shh. Good times. All right. So as you can see here, we've got the battle hexes, which are on the top, the bottom. You have to sit there and you can't make noise. Dad in action. Gotta love it. In or out, you make a choice. Let me reset here for a moment. Take a quick sip of coffee. Oh, yeah. All right, let's go back. Okay, we've got the battle hexes. So we've got the battle hex up here in what's November 34. And there was a YBS being upgraded to a YDK. There was an attack from a series of ships. They blew out the base, and this tug is going to have to retreat out of this hex in some direction. And then, of course, these three ships here, which are the battle hex over here, is where this frigate is, and then in Papa 37, where this resource is. So all these ships are gone, and they should, or not gone and destroyed, but rather not in those hexes. But those are where the bases were. We can also see that there was a battle hex in Romeo 35, which there is currently a Klingon fleet there and a planet. We've got a YBS here, and then we have Uniform 38 here. So I want to take a moment here and just illustrate something for you. Klingon supply. Now it's white, which is challenging, maybe a little bit to see, but you can see the supply reach that I have. And this goes to our how to launch a devastating attack. I'm going to also bring up here for the supply menu the Carnarvon supply. And do you notice anything? Carnarvon supply no longer reaches into this area. Also, key strategic points have been eliminated from the Carnarvon supply network. And if these two bases, well, this base is gone, but if this supply point and this supply point were eliminated, then effectively the supply reach would be much more restricted. So what was the intention of the Klingon attack? As we can see here, there was a clear effort to attack and destroy the logistical support network of the Carnarvons, eliminate bases and supply points. Also, this particular battle hex here, which is where East Fleet is on the map, there was a YDK there. And the news item around the Orions was that they had MTech, and those MTech ships were able to cripple the YDK because it was undefended at the time. Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, another caffeination. Riemann and the Masters of the Universe. Woohoo! Are they the Masters of the Universe for today? Based on that coffee donation, I will say yes. He-Man, you have the power. All right. So yeah, the strategic attack here was to eliminate supply points and key infrastructure. That YDK was key infrastructure because it allows them to repair ships very easily and quickly. And so the concentrated attack did exactly that. Eliminated the supply reach and the key repair capacity of the Carnarvons in those areas. So we can see based on this that we've essentially eliminated 4 points of EP, although they technically belong to the Carnarvon and they count towards the total calculation for their EP as per initiative. They can't actually collect it. It's outside of their supply reach. There is no fixed supply grid or even temporary supply grid that allows them to collect it. So even though they had 43 econ, they can only actually collect and spend 40. Make sense? By example. And so, yeah, it's a very sort of interesting thing here. Now, let me illustrate the second point, which the Carnarvon have effectively, or I think they have very effectively moved to protect themselves against. So, and we're kind of going into the Klingon turn here, but I'm trying to explain what happened. So, as you can see here, there is a base, and there was a collection of ships that moved north. The South Fleet is a collection of M ships, and I'll pull that up here. I'll minimize this, and I'll pull up the Klingon South Fleet. Here we go. So Klingon South Fleet is a collection of M ships. You can see there was a spare D6M there. So there's 2 other D6Ms here, a total of 3 M-era cruisers, 7 attack each. We've got 6 and an additional one, so we got a total of 13 E4Ms. And as you can see here, that's 48, 52 total attack, and 36, 39 defense, just from the frigates. So these ships are currently standing on these supply points, and these supply points, consciously provide the fixed supply route to the capital. This fleet can make an attack run on the capital. Let me tell you how the Carnarvon have effectively and very consciously moved their ships into position to be able to help cover and protect their capital. Both Home and Den Fleet, which we talked about, that's a massive collection of ships. Coyote Band 1 and Ruby, nothing. it's also a significant collection of ships. Both of those ships are within extended reaction range to the capital, meaning if South Fleet were to go into this hex straight, Victor 38, Whiskey 38, and straight into the capital, both of these collections of fleets could, using reaction, could react into the home hex. And consequently, they would be able to protect the capital. And that would be great. I think that would be like, that does a really good job, especially with those collection of ships, of creating a strong defensive force on the capital. Because if they don't protect their capital, you're going to have what happened to the Hydrants, which was sacking of the capital, elimination of their slipways and shipyards, and really a total inability to be able to mount a defense against any opponent, whether it's Riemann, ISC, or Klingon. So that maneuver that they did, putting themselves in reaction range, is an excellent defensive measure to be able to protect themselves from what's going on here. So that's good. That's really good, at least in my mind. So I think that's a really good effort on their part to be able to execute on this. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this war evolves going forward. So was that interesting enough for you? Was it educational at all with regards to how to launch a devastating attack? In summary, focus on supply points or nodes and infrastructure to be able to repair enemy ships. In my lightning strike, and there were total, if you counted them, 7 battles that occurred in that round, 7 different attacks that eliminated a total of 7, well, not 7 bases, 6 bases, and conquering a colony planet, and taking all those locations and basically securing a fixed, and that's the kicker, fixed supply route to the Carnarvon capital, so that I would be in a position to be able to attack and then retrograde the capital system if I so wanted. So very interesting to see sort of how this is evolving in that way. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think about sort of this evolution, or this sort of execution, rather, of strategy against the Carnarvon? Do you see a particular weakness? Go ahead, give me some advice. Do you see a challenge around being able to execute that lightning strike on the capital? I mean, I certainly see one. Do you see anything else? It'd be very interesting to have a discussion and dialogue around that, certainly in our Discord channel. And if you want to join us in that Discord channel, head over to Coffee and hit that support button to be able to get your Discord access to our community and participate in those witty banters and tactical discussions. But as we are coming to the end of the sort of the Carnarvon turn, and I'll roll into the Klingon turn, I would like to share with you this little nugget. At the time of my attack against the Carnarvon, I launched, or rather sent a message to the Carnarvons, and I later published it or posted it in our story narrative channel on Discord. And what it did was basically set the tone for what's going on. So let me share with you that message. It reads as such: message from the Alpha. And this is titled a message to the Carnarvon to be released once processing my turn and battle emails are sent. So once the battles were confirmed, this message goes out. Message from the Alpha. Many moons ago, a stranger slipped a dagger into the back of the Klingon Empire. That assassin called themselves a predator, claiming the soft underbelly of their neighbor could not be ignored. Today, we feast in the cold remembrance of that act. The Klingon Empire cannot allow this rabid dog, who calls themselves a predator, to continue unchecked, causing destruction in our region. They have, with their allies, continued a war without end. They spit in the face of honorable truce and poison the well of peace. Unless stopped, they will ruin us all. The Klingon Empire is embarking on a crusade to put down the disloyal and destructive Carnivon, a species who allies itself with the vile Xenos, who themselves have wreaked havoc with their disruptive discourse and vile preachings across the galactic east. Today, we take up arms against this sea of troubles, and by opposing end this chaos. We shall face the cold sting of hardships and headwinds in this campaign. We will triumph over a dishonorable foe. We shall feast on the cold remains and the ravaged hulls that we leave in our wake, and we shall only be stayed by our fill of vengeance, served cold in the void. The Alpha. So, as a taste, that is part of the role-playing and diplomatic chitter-chatter that goes along on our Discord channel. And that helps you understand maybe where the Klingons are coming from in their attack against the foe that is the Carnivon. But what do you think about the raisons, the raison d'etre, and that soft underbelly? I mean, how is it that the Klingons were able to execute such a devastating attack against so many targets concurrently inside Carnivon space if they weren't properly defended? Obviously, they weren't. A situation very similar and analogous to what had happened when the Carnivon attacked the Klingons. The severity of which is different, but basically the execution of it very similar. So we'll have to see how this goes forward and what happens in the course of the Klingon War. Will the Carnivons make an appease for peace? Will they provide an offer that is satiating to the bloodthirsty Klingons and what's going on? Will there be a denouement of hostilities as a result of that discourse? Or will it just be sort of a figurative middle finger or middle paw, so to speak, paw digit to the Klingon Empire as we continue this ravaging war between us? Only time will tell. All right, let's polish off the rest of the Klingon turn just to sort of summarize what's going on. Here we go. So you can see here there are some ships floating around. We have Joint Task Force Alpha, which is continuing to grow. Let's just do a quick little, here we go, all the way over here. Let's bring it over here. So Joint Task Force Alpha, very much sort of in balance with what's on the other side on the Federation. Today we have a total of 5 F4s. We have a cruiser and a D4C. So that in combination with the crazy E1 that is there along with the YDK is doing a good job of protecting this particular point. We also have, I'm curious about this commercial convoy. I think there might be a little bit of confusion, but apparently there's a commercial convoy on the home, on the capital system. I believe that might be a mistake that I made in the sense that maybe I built a commercial convoy and I meant to say that it was going to be built here, but my mistake. But nonetheless, a commercial convoy had left this YDK and it made its way to its destination, which is here in Bravo 45, and it will disperse there and provide economic stimulus to the Romulans. You can see the Romulans have begun to send their commercial convoy as well. It'll go there and then here and then up that way. So that's good. The commercial convoy will make its way to this YDK. And as you can see, the YFES and D4C have moved around a little bit on their end. The mighty E1 captain has prepared himself to be able to retake the resource that was so dramatically denied him at one point. And as per calls for the E1 captain to perhaps be promoted and take control of a fleet, we shall see what that roleplay shall bring forth, because there's a lot of drama there that I'd like to bring up as we go forward. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, that's basically the kit and caboodle of what's going on. You will notice the M-Era Battle Station and SALM here located in Klingon space. So we can see that the Orions in this neck of the woods are upgrading to M-Era tech, which they may have gotten from somebody. Whether it was stolen or given is a question we shall never know the answer to. But we will have to see how this goes going forward. As we move over to the Romulans, let's slide over to the other side. And we can see here the big news of the Romulan day. The Raiders have arrived. Let's take a look at minor fleets, Juggernaut fleets, and raiders. Oh, damn. This isn't good. This isn't good. Okay, so in the past, we have seen the Juggernauts show up with a cruiser, a light cruiser, a destroyer, or was it 2 destroyers? Maybe 2 destroyers and 3 frigates, right? This is significantly more potent. You have 6 frigates, 3 destroyers, a light cruiser, and a CA. This is a total of 11 ships. Now, the CA only has a command factor of 8, which means that, I'm assuming it's only a command factor of 8. I mean, the Juggernaut statistics might be a little different, but assuming it's a command factor of 8, it can only command a total of 9 ships in a battle line at a time, which, if that was the case, would be all these ships except the CL, or all these ships except 1 FF, which is a obscene amount of firepower, especially when we consider... So let's just do the quick math on that. This particular battle group has a total attack and defense factors of 30, plus 24. Yeah, no, plus 18. Sorry, 30 plus 18 is 48, 56, and 68. Wow. So we have a total of 68 attack and defense factors. 68 attack and defense factors. If we go back to the fleet cap, oh, this is going to be bad. The Romulans, where are you here? The Romulans at 68 attack and defense factors, that represents over 1/3 of the total attack factors that the Romulans can generate. 1/3 in that one little fleet. So they will effectively, and knowing how spaced out the Romulan forces are, they are going to have to move heaven and earth to coalesce all their stuff in one spot and attack that fleet. Because those guys, assuming that they have, let's assume they move 1 hex at a time, and that would be a big if. If they're only doing that, then they're going to probably move. If they move in anything resembling this direction, so there's like a 50% chance that they will get close to a base, they'll detect the base, and then they'll move and attack the base. Will the Romulans be able to build enough forces to be able to help them or deal with that issue? Hopefully that commercial convoy helps the Romulans. We'll have to see. I, as the Klingons, don't necessarily have a way to help them, because that's going to be a big fight. I'll have to ask. I'll have to engage the Romulan player to see if he needs any help or if there's a way that I can help him. But that's going to be a pain in the butt to deal with. So we'll have to see what that looks like. Ouch. All right. Otherwise, let's take a quick look. We'll look at the bottom here. There's a couple of interesting nuggets. So let's go the other way. So you can see the exploration continues in the bottom toe of what I've referred to as the boot, and as well as the heel. We can see that there is research and development occurring on the wormhole here. I'm expecting from the Romulans. Very interesting. You will notice that the Gorn have appeared in the bottom corner here with the Romulans, which is very interesting because, yeah, it's... I don't know what that's going to mean, as the Romulans and the Gorns have gotten along very well up to now, but that's an interesting access point. For reference, the Victor wormhole is right here. Excuse me, it's right on the border with Tholian space, and at the tail end of the FTZ that they've created between the Gorn and that goes from the Gorn Tholian border to the Fed Lyran border. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but that's an interesting data point, shall we say. Very interesting to see that. We've got the collection of exploration. This is all the exploration fleets that are pushing towards the north, which is excellent. As a reminder, I'm expecting that Charlie 36 is where that... hold on, let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if that is the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, Charlie 34 is where I expect the next Juggernaut base to be, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as well as Whiskey 31. So all three, Tholian, Gorn, and Romulans, are making their way towards those various points of access. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works out. Yeah, but that particular Raider fleet, big problem for the Romulans just because of the size of it, and how they're going to deal with it is going to be an interesting challenge. Will they have to wait several turns to be able to build up a fleet? I know they have at least 2 dreadnoughts floating around, so those will be critical to use. But I expect that we'll need a lot of sort of flak, a lot of frigates and other ships to be able to fill the damage void that'll be going on there. But it's time to mount the masses and sort of get going on dealing with that threat, because that's going to be a big one. And if I'm the Romulans, I don't want that problem dealing a lot of damage in my area. Now, so not much else to talk about there as far as I can see with regards to the Romulans. But as we go to the Gorn, this Raider fleet's also concerned for them because it's right on the border, and it could very easily cross the bridge of this neutral zone and threaten this planet here and or this wormhole here. So there's a lot, shall we say, of business going on in this area, and could be a real point of concern for the Gorn. However, that's not the only thing that the Gorn have to deal with. They also have an amoeba that just showed up in the corner over here. So they've got potentially the Raiders, a little amoeba that's popped up, and of course they've got a number of sort of other initiatives going on between the exploration in the top corner, the diplomatic efforts with Glory here, the Paravian planet, and of course their recent exploration of a wormhole. So there's a lot going on. And it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. Oh, interesting. I didn't see this before. There's a Y-era dreadnought that's parked on November 41 with a bunch of Y-era frigates. They're good frigates, too. Or, sorry, Y-era destroyer and frigates. My mistake. I thought the 2-4 was the frigate. My mistake. So good for like decent classic Y-era frigates. We've got a DN, which is critical. And then, of course, there's Gorn 4th Fleet. What's 4th Fleet? Oh, good. So there's 4 dreadnoughts, 2 frigates, and a CC. So certainly that's not going to be enough to stop the Raider fleet, but it's a good start. That, in combination with whatever the Romulans can put together, might be able to help. Now, the challenge is coordination. You can't... they can't fight in the same hex unless they're allied. And in order to become an ally, there's a whole thing there. So how they're going to collaborate on attacking that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. It's going to be really, I tell you, that Juggernaut fleet is going to be a real hurdle for anyone who wants to deal with it. And it's a big pain in the butt, obviously, for the Romulans, and a growing concern for the Gorn. Then, of course, you've got the amoeba. Well, the amoeba, great thing about the amoeba is the sort of the benefits that a monster will give you when you destroy it, like tech benefit. Same thing with the Juggernauts as well, but we'll just have to see how that kind of pans out. Other than that, if we take away the ships real quick, I don't see any base construction going on. Let's do a quick look over on the other side. Bring back the ships. We can see that the Gorn have the technology to travel without crippling their ships. You can see here in the top corner above my head. And they've got Strike Fleet positioned there, which is interesting. So Strike Fleet, I believe it's named fleets. Yeah, so Strike Fleet has 2 CCs, a CL, 4 DDs, and an FF. Not crazy, but more than enough to be able to sort of blow out Cobalt Fleet and take some space. If I'm the ISC, I want to make a deal with the Gorn and say, hey, why don't you take a couple of resources here, build a base, and, and play nice. We shall have to see what it is that they want to do. But nonetheless, a very interesting development for a combination of factors. There's just so much going on. Okay. Now we still got the Tholians and the Federation. We're going to go through these guys relatively quickly and see how this evolves. Okay, so quick, we're going to take away the ships and we look at the Kzinti. Now this faction has been happy plus for a while, but they haven't yet integrated into the Tholian economy, which is good because from my perspective, I don't want to see the Tholians get too big and too powerful. That will be a quick 4 EP boost to their economy, and anything we can do to sort of make that more challenging, the better. However, that's what's going on here right now. We can also see, just as a quick sort of survey, look at how many YDKs they have. 1, 2, 3, and there's a fourth one over here. I bet you they've got one on their capital as well. But interesting to note, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any others I'm missing? No. So there's 5 YDKs, fundamentally in key strategic positions, guarding wormholes and or, in this case, a position adjacent and close to the border with the Gorns and this Kzinti faction in case they go sideways. So very interesting to note. If we bring the ships back, let's take a look at some of the other interesting notes here. 1, derelict. Still nothing's been done with the derelict. We can see home fleet here. Let's take a look at Tholian home fleet, which is in a clear position to attack Green Dragon, or as I refer to it, Flaming Dragon. Let's take a look at what we got here. So, open. It's being difficult. There we go. So we can see that we've got in this fleet 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers, 12, 15, 17 YPCs, which are kind of their version of a frigate, and they're weaker than the average frigate. And then 3 different commando ships. Very interesting. So very clearly, home fleet on Airy is preparing to mount a sort of pivotal attack on Green Dragon. And so when they do that, they'll take that planet and we'll see what happens. Now, Green Dragon, let's look up the minor factions. Oh, that's the Orion cartel. It's very interesting. Wynn, Vudar, Celtorians. Oh, my mistake. Sorry, they're a Borak faction. My mistake. So Green Dragon. They have a dreadnought, a cruiser, a light cruiser, 3 destroyers, 6 frigates. So essentially, what we're talking about is a collection of ships, and I didn't see any ground bases. Oh, there's 1. Or 4. They've got 4 ground bases. That's the 4 attack and 8 defense. They've got 4 planetary ground bases there. So they are in a position to be able to effectively defend that planet very well. And the Tholians, being that they're attacking, are going to have it sort of be a tougher go based on their lower overall attack factors. Still, that home fleet is going to be a very interesting attack on Green Dragon. It'll be interesting to see how that evolves. In addition, we've got still the stabilized stabilized sensor reading here, which we can reasonably predict is a Juggernaut battle station, BATS. So I expect that sometime soon that will be sort of explored and we'll figure out what's going on. Now, the Tholians are not equipped in any way, shape, or form to be able to effectively deal with a Juggernaut incursion. So I'm be curious to see what they do around that. Interesting to note, we have not seen, even though they have transited a wormhole, we have not seen a Juggernaut faction pop up in Tholian space. What would happen if we did? Very interesting. On that, large exploration freighter, and large exploration freighter continuing to do their exploration there. Small exploration freighter here, another small one here, and another small one here. That is the sum of their exploration efforts, really, along with a couple of cruisers, as you can see here, with prime teams trying to pound out the fog of war in that area. So very interesting to note. I am surprised to not see at this point any Tholian M ships. I might be missing them, but I don't see any Tholian M ships as of yet. I can't talk. As of yet. But we can see, obviously, a 11 count of planetary ground bases on their homeworld, a YDK, 4 on a minor planet, and then nothing on the developing planet. So very interesting to see the sort of the Tholian development there. Let's go up into our final faction for today, and that is the Federation. Very interesting. Okay, so as we know, the Federation have gone to war to support the Lyrans. I believe that they are, as of this turn, in alliance with the Lyrans. So that makes them from an initiative perspective, when you are in an alliance with somebody, you take the combined EP of both your economies, and that puts you in the ranking for when you go. For example, up until now, the Carnarvon Hydran faction has usually been the second last to go, with the Riemann ISC faction being the last series of turns to be processed. I'll have to take a look at the econ, but I think now these guys, the Federation and Lyran combo, are now the second last to go, with the ISC and the Riemann still being the largest collective economy. So it'll be something along the lines of Carnarvon Hydran, Fed Lyran, and Riemann ISC as the bottom three, or the last three to go, sort of in that sequence. However, we were going to divide it based on economy. I think it'll be Romulan, Gorn, Klingon, and then those three. So we'll see. It makes it easier for initiative, but it does make it challenging overall for these players based on their initiative changes. So yeah, we'll have to see. When we look at them, what do we see? In the corner here, we can see a collection, as always, with them. Cruisers with prime teams, which are doing an excellent job of slowly making their way towards the center. This is good, at least from their perspective. We can see they still have an interesting crippled cruiser here. I wonder what happened. It's kind of caught in space. Excuse me. I wonder if it's a random event, but nonetheless, they've got lots of repair facilities nearby for them to be able to move stuff around. Take note. The Federation have built a Y-Air Dreadnought. Boom. Their Dreadnought is a 5/8, 5 attack, 8 defense, but they have a Y-Air Dreadnought out in the field. This is particularly interesting because this will, this will make things interesting. Yes. They're going to use this, of course, as a command platform to launch any kind of attack against the Riemanns and ISC. The thing I'll be interested to see is what kind of fleet are they going to mount to go into the direction of the Riemanns? Because one of the things, and we'll have to discuss this, is they technically can go to war, but if they're not actually fighting, then they're incurring war turns for no benefit. I mean, they get the economic benefit, but there's a lot of deficiencies that come with war turns. Like it's a debt that you have to pay off eventually, and they're not paying it off. Like, I just don't see the advantage, if you know what I mean. They'll incur the debt and getting the economic advantage, surely, but they're not actually gaining anything in the process. They're not fighting an enemy, decreasing their relative power, and then gaining relative power, hopefully being successful in that combat or that campaign. So it'll be interesting to see how this all goes. And how their concentration of forces, if they do, will affect their neighbors. I'm assuming the Tholians won't be an issue. The question is, how are the Feds and the Riemann ISC combo going to go? Because remember, as we go through their map, we can go up the border here. Everything looks copacetic. But their second fleet is a wormhole that goes into ISC space. ISCs are allies of the Riemanns, and if the Federation want to start something with the ISC, this is most likely the route that they may take. Let's take a quick look at the second fleet. The second fleet is still like nothing too crazy here. We've got 5 frigates, 2 cruisers, and a command cruiser, so nothing obscene. The question is, where are the Federation with their wormhole tech? Can they travel wormholes without being crippled, or can they provide supply through the wormhole? We don't know. There's been no demonstrated capability one way or the other. We'll have to see. Speaking of wormholes, as we go down, the hotel wormhole still has not been transited to the best of my knowledge, so we don't know where it pops up, if and when it pops up anywhere. But what we can see as we go down here, we got 7th Fleet sitting still on top of this wormhole that goes to to Klingon space. So let's do a quick check. 7th Fleet, and just as a quick comparison, I mentioned this before, but so the Klingon Alpha fleet is the fleet on the other side of this same wormhole. And let's just look at this balance. You've got a CA and a CC. You've got a cruiser and a command cruiser. Same. You've got 5 frigates, and in this case, you've got 5 destroyers. Very similar disposition of forces on either side of that wormhole. Neither one has a force that could walk through the wormhole and effectively attack. Just not going to happen. Even if the Klingons with their destroyers versus frigates decided to be stupid enough, and I'm saying this as the Klingon, to walk through that wormhole, that fleet is not big enough to do anything. They won't be able to take that that target, and certainly not with a YDK there. So it's not a threat. It's just a slightly more robust defensive position by a hair than what the Federation have, but nonetheless, very similar. We can see that the diplomatic efforts are continuing with the Kzinti planet here. Happy plus, but still no conversion. It's just the bad luck of the Federation. They just seem to be just not having a good roll of the dice when it comes to this kind of stuff. But generally speaking, they're keeping it up and they're maintaining good. One thing to note, when they're at war status, they lose, I think it's +1 with regards to their diplomatic roles. So there is a perk to being at peace when it comes to diplomacy, and when you're at war, you lose that perk. So it'll just make it a little bit harder to be able to bring those guys on side. Just another thing for the Federation to think about in their particular approach. But on that, we can see as we go through, bases are good. Take away the ships. No base. There is base construction. So there's a base being built here. Very interesting to note its position. Obviously still mutually supported, but with its reach, 1, 2, 3, assuming 4 supply, it can effectively supply this whole wedge. This whole wedge going down into that fog of war hex. So I expect the Federation will be very efficient in their base distribution as they work this way down, and you'll follow this diagonal southeasterly line with base construction as they go forward. That's my expectation or prediction. We'll see how it goes as this evolves going forward. All right. So with that all being said, what do you think? What do you think about what's going on here on the map? There is so much activity going on, so many battles, so many conflicts, so many variables to think about. Those juggernauts are getting they're stirring the pot, that is for sure, and very exciting. Let's go to the chat real quick and figure out what is going on. Okay, we're picking up from the last coffee support, which, ladies and gentlemen, we are 133% past our goal. Thank you very much. The Riemanns and the Masters of the Universe. I have the power. For all of those 80s cartoon references. Carl, I did a double take when he said D6M. Then I remembered that the M era D6, not a Mauler. Very true. Yes, there are Maulers in the Klingon repertoire, but that comes far later in the sort of the introduction dates for Klingon ships. So that's down the pipe, not to worry about that. But D6M. And as we've seen, the Klingons have been constructing M-era ships for some time. D6M is our sort of baseline cruiser, and the E4M and the E3M are the cruiser variants. And I mentioned this before, in F&E, for a lot of these factions, the Klingons, the Romulans, the Federation, and a couple of others have very flushed out sort of introduction dates for a lot of their ships. This comes from the lore and the canon around it, as well as the sort of the longevity of these factions in the game. Other factions like the Paravians and the Carnivons and some of the other factions, as far as their introduction dates, are a little more front-loaded. They will get not early era M ships and late era M ships as the Feds, the Klingons, the Roms, and some other factions do. They get sort of like their best M ships right up front. So be on the lookout for when the Carnivons get M tech, start building M ships, because I think they get a cruiser and a destroyer right away. And if that's true, I believe their cruiser is a straight 8, I think. Maybe not. And their destroyer is something like a 4-5 or a straight 5. Something like that. Which ridiculously overpowered ships, considering that the other factions don't get anything like that. So keep that in mind. I think that's something you'll see coming down the pipe. All right. Eugene, did the legendary E1 captain recapture any resources? Not this turn, but stand by. It looks like he is preparing to take out the ground bases. There's 2 on that planet. Thank you for noticing on Echo. Bill Smith, he is facing a hard fight with 2 PGBYs. EW for the Carnies in the Carnies' favor. Absolutely. We would never send a solitary E1 to go do something like that. That would be suicide. Eugene, Have Klingons joined the Northern Alliance or just attacking the Carnies and not the Hydrans yet? Well, I can tell you that there is no alliance between the ISC and the Riemans and the Klingons, because if there was, the initiative would change. Can you tell why? 58 attacks, 58 defense, but all ships have shields. Shield regen, I think, is what he's talking about. So that makes them even harder to take out. Ugh. Tony. George Duffy says, Tony, are not the Carnivon able to engage and retake the colony planet next turn? Klingons able to react to threat? Oh, so this goes to the question around initiative. As of right now, and as will be calculated for the processing of this turn, and I'll go back and pull it up. So we'll slide over here, and I'll just pull up the EP table. Where is it? Brain. Okay, here's the EP table. So because the Carnivons and the Hydrans are in alliance, their economies are combined to calculate their initiative. Hydrans have a 14 EP. The Carnivon have a 43 EP. That makes them a total of 57. The Klingons have a 55 EP, total economy. The Klingons go first. So because I have initiative, I act first, and the Carnivons are not able to respond, or like they don't go first. So I get first action, and there's an advantage to that first act. And that will be basically being able to reach out and hurt them before they are able to come back and hurt me. But you were correct that there is, they are able to retake that colony planet without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I expect that they will. The question is, will they be able to hold it? I don't know. Now, when I attacked the minor planet and the colony, that took away 4 EP from the Carnivon economy. If they were to take back both those, it will only provide them 2 EP in return, because it will be a devastated Carnivon planet. It'll be 1 EP. Also, something for the Carnivons to think about, although maybe they won't, is that if the planet continually gets attacked and devastated again and again and again, it will decrease. It'll go from a minor to a developing and so on. And there's a cadence to that the GM has sort of like a behind the curtain table on. But I'm pretty sure if we go back and forth with a round after round after round attack, you're going to see that planet quickly degrade. I don't know what the exact cadence is, but if the Carnivon don't want to see that happen, they'll have to manage that piece. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So much excitement. All right. Bill Smith. They could, but South Fleet can outrun anything. Ladies and gentlemen, another coffee. Shall I pour from the coffee Genesis device? Oh, baby. Here it is. The sweet elixir of black goodness coming into it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now 150%, I believe, past our goal. I love it. Thank you very much. Very, very much appreciate all your support. All right. What do we got here? Bill Smith. They could, but South Fleet can outrun anything. Maybe even outslug Red Fleet. Not so much if Carnies are fighting in their backfield. The Hydrans are dead for suing for peace. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting how this all works out. George Duffy. Looks like you're going to rename the Romulans when they finish exploring the back ends. I believe Italianics is already taken. Interesting. I'm not sure what that means, George Duffy. Bill, can draw supply and just started building a base this turn. Oh, he's talking about the wormhole. So Captain Adam can now officially draw supply through wormholes. Watch out, everybody. That's going to be interesting. Bill Smith, I think Tony is planning on using the tech advantage to bleed the Carnivons without becoming decisively engaged. Death by 1,000 batla cuts, says Captain Adam. Bill Smith. Maybe. I don't want to telegraph any strategies in advance, because literally I don't know. I'm just looking at the map this turn, but I do have some ideas percolating in the back of my head, and I certainly had a strategy going into this particular initiative. So I'll be very interested to see how this evolves going forward. But I will put this out there: the Alpha Legion, as the motivating factor behind the Klingons, is the Alpha Legion. That's the sort of the archetype. I have 3 key characters, or Primarchs, if you're using the comparison. They're the 3 sort of superhero general leaders of the Klingon faction. I have Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. These it's the Alpha. There is Omicron, as per way back when around Christmas we had the Omicron initiative, and then we have the Gamma. And Gamma, if you've been following, for those players who are on the Discord channel or anyone following the narrative, has been the one that has been sort of plagued by this lust for battle, this lust for conflict. There has been a lot of stories talking about him collecting skulls and in these sort of religious type or meditative type trances around being influenced by something other. Whether it's the gods or something else, we'll have to see as the story unfolds. But there's 3 of them, and so there is a discourse, a dialogue, a discussion, a debate as far as what courses of action to take, and how the Carnivons choose to role play in response to me will dictate further options and actions as we go forward. I don't know what that's going to look like because I haven't received the role play from the Carnivons yet. I just know that there was some discussion, and the response to my attack will sort of dictate how things go forward. And of course, I have to roll out the recent role play narrative that spells out why this happened, or like happened in the way that it did. I did a lot of the front loading and the setting of the scene. We just haven't actually created that piece yet. Let me get back into the chatter. Wayne Dan, 2-time coffee donator this live stream. Thank you, Wayne. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, yeah. All right, laugh out loud. Triple D29, he says. Bill, that is. Triple D29. I don't know what Triple D29 is. Let's take a look at the map. Triple D29. Oh, that's his wormhole hex. George, again, with the typo, Italians, I think is what he was referring to. Eugene, 15 watching, only 13 thumbs up, subtle hints. Poke, poke. So Eugene, again, Eugene is our public affairs officer. If you are currently watching and you have not already hit the thumbs up, whether you're catching the replay at this late hour and 54 minutes into the live stream, thank you so much. If you're catching us on the live and you're catching us right now as I'm saying this, then please tickle the YouTube algorithm in just the right way so we can spread the word out to everybody and anybody who wants to be able to share this as we go forward. All right. George Duffy, big fingers, Dwayne Dan, because of the boot shape on the map. Oh, right. Italians, because of the boot, of course. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could call the Romulans the Italians, so to speak. There's so many jokes there, man. That is rich. That is rich territory for puns and impersonations and all sorts of stuff. I wonder how Dave Brewster, who is the player of the Romulans, how he would feel about that. I'll have to engage with him. He has been, for those of you who are players in our game, Dave, who plays the Romulans, is great role playing. I have been somewhat overwhelmed lately and have not been a good fellow player in responding to his queries and role plays and various other things. So Dave, if you're watching, I apologize, and I will redouble my efforts to engage in greater role play for you. I apologize. Bill Litton is in the house. Federation are at limited war. Good. Limited war following the letter of their treaty with the Lyrans, providing the expeditionary fleet to support the Lyrans currently in Papa 13. Okay, so for those of you who are tracking, limited war is 75%, not 100% of the economy, and limited war does 2 things. In the context, as per the original F&E game that Bill is using it, limited war is used as an escalatory path to war. He is engaging limited war for 4 turns, at the end of which he will assume war status. For limited war, he will have 75% of his income, incur no war turns, but obviously doesn't burn any off, which he doesn't have any, I believe, at this point, so it's a moot point. And then after 4 turns, boom, gets into war status. Now, I do believe, and I'd have to ask the GM the question around this. Daniel will do this in Discord afterwards. What does it mean if he's not in a position to attack a valid military target, which is one of the sort of bespoke sort of addendum rules in the early player's info sheet? If you can't attack a valid military target after the limited war, what does it mean? Does that mean you have to go to peace? I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll have to figure that out. But Bill, Billin is in the house. Thank you very much. All right. Before we sign off here and carry on with our Discord chatter, if you haven't already decided to join our Discord, again, the coffee link, the QR code will take you there, and then you can join us for coffee and chatter as we talk about all the exciting stuff that's happening on the map. My brain just lost it. What was I going to say? Oh, right. What do you think of the new changes to the live stream? The logo has gone red. What do you think? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Tell me what your thoughts are. Obviously, there's a little jitteriness to the to what's going on here. I will have to fix that piece after the fact. Not sure how. I'm not sure. I'll have to troubleshoot, figure out what's going on. Could just be that I need to upgrade my system, and if that's the case, that's the case. That's just what I got to do. Other than that, very much appreciate all of you joining us here on this wonderful Saturday morning. Every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, we are doing 11 o'clock Pacific, that is. We are doing these live streams and sharing the latest and greatest news with you. So what do you think? Do you think the Riemann and ISC will flood south and totally tsunami the Hydrons and now the very vulnerable Carnarvon northern border, as the Klingons have forced a pivot of military resources away from that front? Does that open up an opportunity for the Riemanns and the ISC to devastate and destroy and terminate their war with the Hydrons and the Carnarvons? Will we see a combination of Riemann, ISC, Klingon collaboration or collusion in an attempt to be able to subdue the Carnarvons and or the Riemanns? I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. How much are the Lyrans a threat to the Riemanns? Are they going to pull a distract significantly enough from the conflict with the Carnies and Hydrons to be able to make a difference? Will the Hydrons, will the Riemanns be able to fend off the growing tide of ships that are flowing across the border? What will the Federation assistance fleet look like? Will that expeditionary fleet arrive in time? Will it actually engage a valid military target? Will the Riemanns have to fend off against 2 factions on one front? Who knows? And of course, what's going on with that Juggernaut faction? Oh my God. How much damage do you think that is going to do? Is that crazy? I don't know. It's going to be nutty to see. So let me know what you think in the chat and the comments after this video or this live stream is done. I'll be very interested to see what your analysis is on this path forward. So without further ado, I will let you carry on with your Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us here on our live stream, and I will see you next Saturday at 11 o'clock. Ciao for now.